Hello everyone, Nolan West here. Today we got the updated December forecast for the state budget, and my, does it have some good news. Earlier this year we talked about how the state has a projected $2.4 billion budget deficit for the operating budget this year and a bigger deficit going forward. That number is now a $641 million budget surplus for this year. About half of the projected lost revenues has been added back compared to the last forecast. But it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. The next biennium is projected to have a $1.3 billion budget deficit, and we will need to deal with that in the upcoming session. But one good thing is that these numbers do not include any of our state's $2.4 billion budget reserve. That money is still safe. And we should remember that this is a projection, just like the last one, so things could change dramatically. I myself think we are going to boom in 2021. With the large-scale rollout of vaccines and the coronavirus behind us, our economy is already doing pretty well, shockingly enough. It's going to do even better next year. So I think our deficit will shrink even further. But let's get into the details of this budget forecast and see what really changed. And the forecast for this year changed by $2.9 billion. And this was due to $1.9 billion in higher than expected revenues and about $1 billion less in spending. And on the revenue side, we saw the biggest growth from sales tax, which was revised up by $808 million. The individual income tax revenues were also up $500 million. This shows that people were still spending money and getting paid. But that increased spending went to big box corporations, not small businesses, as we can see being closed everywhere. And this $641 million budget surplus we have now will give us a chance to mitigate their losses due to Governor Walz's latest restrictions. And on the spending side of things, there are a couple of things to note. We saved $919 million in health and human services, which was caused by two things. Massive support from the federal government in regards to low-income programs distributed by the state, and significantly lower utilizations of our fee-for-service programs where people have to pay for a service. But what I think is most interesting is the savings in E12 education. We are spending $118 million less because so many people pulled their kids from public schools because they weren't being educated. And that's a problem, and parents responded. In all, that's 12,600 students. So if you're wondering why every single private school in your area is full, this will be why. On the national level, we are also seeing things improve. The forecasted loss in GDP in April was 5.4%. This has been revised down to 3.6% instead, which is a fairly large shift considering the massive size of the U.S. economy. And that has been driven, oddly enough, by increased consumer spending on durable goods. In fact, consumers are spending more on durable goods than they were projected to back in February. And our economy was pretty good in February, especially considering right now, which is just a crazy happenstance to see. Lastly, I want to cover unemployment, which has been rebounding quickly, but it seems to be slowing down, as you can see at the end of the graph there. We lost 388,000 jobs in March and April in Minnesota, and we've gained back around 204,000 of those since. The unemployment rate peaked at 9.9% in May, and it's gone down to 4.6% now, which sounds amazing, but a significant amount of that was due to people leaving the labor force, not people finding jobs. In the last few months, 107,000 people have left the labor force, which is why our unemployment rate looks so good right now. But we are still recovering quickly, just not that quickly. So what does this all mean going forward? Well, first it means raising taxes is out of the question. I mean, Minnesotans have been punished enough. I mean, the pandemic has been more than punishing on absolutely everyone and every business. It also means that we can help businesses that have been affected by Governor Walz's shutdown. And while I wish we could just end it, and we've attempted to 5 times. We don't have the votes to end his powers in the House. So the next best thing we can do is try and mitigate the damage it's doing. Having a $641 million budget surplus will help us make that happen. And unlike the federal government, we can't just print money and hand it out. I mean, we have to have a balanced budget. And thank goodness for that. If we didn't have a balanced budget written in our Constitution, we would be spending money like drunken sailors like Illinois and California. And before this forecast showing this $641 million, I did not know how we were going to help these businesses. It was just an impossible situation. We just had to cross our fingers and hope the feds throw money our way or empty out our budget reserves, which we always should be hesitant to do. But now we can do something. So that's the situation. Expected revenues are way up, spending is down, and our economy is recovering quickly from the pandemic-induced recession. Seeing how much better off our economy was than expected, I can't wait to see what it looks like once we're rolling in 2021. And I covered a lot here, so if you have any questions, just let me know. And thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.